The other day, CNN defended the riots live on air. Their reporter said that what you were seeing was just the language of the unheard. Rioters last night in Manhattan went up and down Broadway, just ransacking and destroying everything and looting everything. These people aren't doing this because they're ideologically driven. They're just trying to take stuff. Law and order is breaking down. The reason why I think it's breaking down is that we are in a civil war. I know. You might be saying, Tim, that's ridiculous. We're not in a civil war. There's no factions, blah, blah, blah. Whatever, man. Listen, we look back at history, at our civil war, and we say that's what it's supposed to be. Two factions clearly defined, drawing borders and then marching into each other's territories. No, that is not a civil war. That's what we call civil war in our country. But civil war is when two factions fight for control over one government, and they do it through violence. We are now essentially in this territory. The difficult thing about whether or not we're in a civil war is, do you see it? Is it overt, right? It's like, do I know it when I see it? Well, listen, maybe it's not so easy to see yet, but I'd be willing to bet a large sum of money that in the next 50 to 100 years, they look back and say, this is the thick of things. And maybe it even started a long time ago. But the reason why I'm saying this is because cops are getting shot in the head, like you can see on your screen right now. Cops are getting ambushed. Innocent people are dying. There are videos popping up of the ideological extremists attacking people and beating them and destroying stores. And there's videos of police point blank shooting tear gas canisters in the face of a guy in Grand Rapids. Trump right now said he is sending out the military, I believe armed soldiers, to D.C. And Bill Barr is sending out riot control to D.C. and Miami. Let's talk about what it means to be in a civil war. Perhaps it's when CNN defends the rioters. Perhaps then it's when Donald Trump condemns Antifa as terrorists. And perhaps it's when Joe Biden, the other candidate's staff, start bailing these people out. Maybe it will never become a full-fledged civil war. Maybe this will die down. I honestly don't know. And it might be a bold prediction. But I got to say, man, I'm looking at everything. I think we're in it. And the reason is the people who have defended Antifa, and I'm not talking about some nebulous ideology of opposing fascism, which makes no sense. I'm talking about the active, organized individuals with funding. CNN has defended them on more than one occasion. Okay, they're defending the riots now. The Democrats have defended them on more than one occasion. And they're calling out Trump. And yes, many are defending them now. I believe it was Keith Ellison's son who said that he responded to Trump's tweet saying Antifa were terrorists by declaring that he was Antifa. You have Keith Ellison himself, prominent Democrat, holding the Antifa handbook in that famous photo, which he deleted. There may be a point at which the U.S. government says, these are legitimate terrorists, we're going to go after them. And then you will see the mainstream media and mainstream Democrats condemn the far left. And maybe that's when the tides turn. So I think I am still reticent to say, like, is this the full-on civil war? And I think it is. I really do. They showed up to Cassandra Fairbanks' house and they shot live ammo. She's a conservative journalist. They shot live ammo at it, fireworks, and she had to flee. A fundraiser was set up to try and, help her relocate. I got more than enough to show you that I think we're in the thick of things. Let me explain something to you. The data came out around the coronavirus. Remember this? And it said that the infection rate was actually much worse than we realized, but the mortality rate was much less than we realized. This meant that we should probably consider reopening our states and our businesses. We got data that suggested the lockdowns could actually be worse. According to Andrew Cuomo on May 6th, 66% of infections were coming from the home, meaning people who stayed home were getting infected. Dr. Deborah Birx of the White House Task Force on the Coronavirus asked the CDC to investigate why major cities that were locked down were seeing a steady rate of infection for the coronavirus. We saw these Democrats reject all of this information and keep their states and cities locked down. We saw the Republicans refuse to close or outright reopen, and the infection rates went down. It's hard to know exactly what or why or how this is happening, but let me just tell you something. These riots that are destroying everything are fueled by anger over the lockdown, the loss of people's jobs, the loss of purpose, and 40 million plus unemployed. Anyone who knows anything about rioting knows that this is what causes rioting. It's why protests and riots occur on weekends when people aren't working. And it's why conservatives often aren't rioting. The Democrats were well aware of all of the data they had, but they refused to open up. I don't have the answers and I don't know why they're doing it, but I can tell you how people will perceive what happened. In where I live, there's a gym called Atlas Gym that wanted to reopen. Someone jammed paper towels in the sewer, flooding the building apparently. The police came out, even arrested a guy. The governor directly threatened them. Why? Now here's the bigger question. Why did all of these Democratic politicians say we can't go out? Why did Andrew Cuomo say, you got to stay home, to slow the coronavirus? But then when it came to these riots, they encouraged it. They helped it. They said these people were just speaking the language of the unheard. Why did CNN call the right-wing protesters, the 2A protesters, insane, crazy? They said they were killing grandma. And then when the rioters come out and destroy everything, what do they do? On this was Chris Cuomo's show, I believe. They say it's the language of the unheard. It may not be this. It's not a grand conspiracy. It's not that the Democrats are plotting and twirling their mustache. No. What's happening is the tribes have been set in their ways, and the tribes know who their tribe is, and they know who they must resist. So when it comes to the coronavirus and Trump says it's time to reopen, and even Dr. Fauci said that it's time to reopen because we can't stay closed, the Democrats did nothing. That's what I'm talking about. If you have a faction that is ignoring the data and the advice of someone like Fauci, just because they hate Trump, that shows you that this is factional. This is tribal. The tribes are getting more and more extreme. When you follow these people, what do you see? On Twitter, one tribe only posts the police and police brutality. Another tribe shows the protesters and the riots and attacking business owners and individuals. And you'll even see both sides sharing the same video with different perspectives. I saw one video. Protesters are chanting something like, take off your riot gear. We don't see no riot here. Something happens. Tear gas gets thrown to the crowd. The crowd disperses. I see conservatives saying, shut it down, dominate. And I see the left saying the inverse. The police are attacking peaceful protests and all this stuff. It doesn't matter who you side with. I certainly don't care for the riots. And I don't care for the police brutality. I don't care for this. There's a video of Grand Rapids of a cop shooting someone in the face nearly point blank with a tear gas canister. There's no excuse for this. And I've seen people tweet at me, yeah, well, he should have listened to the cops' orders. No, shut up. There's so many steps between shooting someone in the face with a tear gas canister, but between pushing them and getting to that point. They could have just turned him around and cuffed him. No. A guy's smoking a cigarette, walks towards the cops, he gets pepper sprayed, and then when he turns around, bang, in the face. What do you think that photo will do? All of these people who are arguing in favor of the riots and the protesters will use that, and that is pure propaganda. It needs to be condemned. I get it. Conservatives are condemning it too. But the tribes are getting set in stone, man. There are a few glimpses of hope, I suppose, in some of these videos of cops hugging people and things simmering down. And maybe what really might come out of this is it may remain mass civil unrest. It may be short. But I think it's fair to point out that we're in a new generation of warfare. It's possible that we've been in a civil war for a long time. I mean, there was some Russian oligarch said that he refused to come here a couple of years ago because we were in civil war. Maybe it's been the information war. Maybe it's been Trump versus, the Obamagate stuff, the Obama administration spying and all that stuff. Maybe it's been going on for a long time. And because of technology, things just function differently. I do want to show you some of these stories. And I want to show you some of the harder news stories that kind of back up what I'm saying. First of all, we have this, and I'm just going to go through them quickly because I'm not going to dwell on the minutia. A police officer shot in the head in Vegas. 4 officers are shot in St. Louis. Cops are rammed by an SUV in Buffalo, and looters ransack Manhattan on another night of riots across the U.S. after Trump vowed to crack down. Here's another video. This one, man. Last night in Philadelphia, there were explosions all throughout the night. I'm not exaggerating. There's a hashtag called Philly Explosions. And you have the mainstream narrative that people were planting bombs to steal ATM machines, and the leftist narrative that this was actually police suppression and no one really knows what happened. A gun store owner killed someone who was trying to break in and steal guns. Maybe they just wanted to come up. Maybe they just wanted to steal the guns and go sell them. What do you think is going to happen regardless if a group of people are raiding a building and stealing guns? What do you think happens when these people, these rioters and these looters get armed? Right now in Philadelphia, there's people marching through the streets with baseball bats. We have this story. Multiple explosions and thefts of ATMs reported across Philadelphia last night. Here's a woman crying because her sister was shot and killed by the rioters. This was in Iowa, I believe. This video is what nightmares are made of. These young people who are going out instigating and starting violence and doing all this stuff don't understand what war is really like. Make no mistake, when this kicks off, it's going to be the people you love the most who are dead. And it's going to be you sitting there screaming at the top of your lungs, clawing at the walls, begging for some way to take it all back. Because I've seen it, and you can see it in this woman's face. The people, it wasn't the police who did this. So right now, you have rampant lawlessness. But I'm seeing people post all over Instagram and Twitter these blackout images, and they don't realize what's happening. They have no idea what's going on when men are marching through the streets with baseball bats. They have no idea what's going on when armed citizens with AR-15s are on rooftops taking their neighborhoods back. They have no idea what's going on when a reporter, you can hear in this video, it's just ridiculous, explosions, fireworks, what sounds like but probably gunshots of some sort. This happening in Seattle. And they say it looks like a war zone. I've seen war zones. I should say, I've been in revolutions and civil unrest. I've not been in direct international conflict. That's not my thing. I covered over the past decade mostly civil unrest and upheaval. So I was in Egypt when there was a revolution. And I've tried explaining to my people what happens when you have 3,000 people demanding the removal of somebody. Egypt was different from America. Yeah, it was a lot smaller, and you can't really compare the two. But there's a lot of potentials. There's a lot of variables, and they don't end well. They usually end with groups being hunted down and executed. And I told my friend the other day, when they started posting the addresses of conservatives, it's only a matter of time before they actually show up. I don't know when that will be. That night, they showed up at Cassandra Fairbanks' house with live ammo, banging on her windows and shooting. You know what comes next. First, they post your address. Then they show up. Then the next time they show up, someone runs up, kicks your door, and runs away. It's just the one little thing they did. It's not them. They're not the one breaking in your house. They just kick the door. But then the door flies open and someone decides to peek in. Other people see them going in and they all move in. It's mob mentality. One step at a time until they are in your house, dragging you out in the street, taking all your stuff because your address was posted, because they said to do it. That's what civil war is like. Real civil war would be pockets of ideological groups forming in various areas and then taking those areas over. That's not what the Civil War in the U.S. was a long time ago, but it's kind of like what's happening now. The people who overtly support one ideology they're getting armed. They're destroying things. Trump calls for, look at the narrative of Trump and the church. An American historical landmark, St. John's Church, was set on fire. The next day, protesters were outside. Curfew is set for 7 p.m., whether you agree with the curfew or not. The police, I believe it may have been like Secret Service and National Guard, then clear out the protesters with tear gas. After the protests are cleared out, Trump walks across to St. John's Church and takes a picture holding a Bible. And he did this, in my opinion, for two reasons. To show the church still stood after reports that it was on fire, especially on Fox News, and to show that the protests couldn't stop him. That's why he personally stood there. The media then reported that Trump gassed peaceful protesters for a photo op. That's a perspective that drives the leftist tribalism. So I hate to be, it's tough. I don't think anybody wants to say it for sure because no one really knows where this all goes. And even saying civil war, whatever it is, it might not become anything like you expect it to be. Maybe it ends at the ballot box, but I really, really don't think so. I think come November, all of this, it probably leads to Donald Trump winning. I don't know how long this is going to go on for. Apparently, we're still under lockdown. Nothing's changing, and people are getting angry about it. In this video, you can see an NYPD officer pointing his gun, live ammo, at the rioters. Why? In this video, this officer in white gets cracked over the head with what looks like a baton. So the officers are surrounded, being beaten. And guess what? The people with guns tend to be the ones willing to use the people with guns tend to be the ones who are going to win. You go up against somebody, whatever, man. You get the point. He didn't shoot anybody. But we're already there. I mean, cops got ambushed and killed. Do you think these police officers are going to sit back and try and cross their fingers and hope it won't be them next? In Oakland, a van pulled up, panel opened, rifle came out, shot 2 officers. Do you think any of these cops want to take chances? No. So what's going to happen? You're going to have people begging for normalcy. You're going to have people begging Donald Trump to fix this. And you're going to have people screeching martial law and authoritarianism and fighting back. And it will only teeter back and forth until it collapses. I'm not confident we can pull out of this. I've been saying for years that this is what you will expect. And I don't think people realize what comes next is horrifyingly worse. I mean it. To say worse is an understatement. I can't begin to describe you the things that you'll end up seeing that you wish you had never seen. The golden age is over. As Trump says he's going to bring in the National Guard and the military, the activists say he's threatening to kill American citizens. When we had a guy in Louisville shot and killed because the police and the National Guard were marching to clear a park, someone shot at the police and the National Guard, and someone shot back, killing this person. They are saying Trump is killing these people. They know what is going on. They are encouraging this. They are calling people out. You have the low-level individuals, people I know, saying things like, white people, it's time to get active. And I'm sitting here laughing, saying, man, that is pure identitarianism. You telling all the white people to take action based on their identity. You might be saying, but I'm just talking about peaceful protest. And that's why I just don't care. I don't want to have anything to do with this. Okay? When they come out and say to all the white people to go do X, how do you think these riots form? Do you think they form because thousands of people want to go and viciously murder someone? No, it's because thousands of people are bored, angry, or were told to activate. And they go out and they walk around minding their own business, acting like a snowflake. The snowflake that doesn't blame itself for the avalanche. That's why I'm shocked to see so many people I know encouraging people to protest and keep going out after all this has happened. How many people need to die? How many people need to die from the police, from the civilians, from that woman whose sister was killed for you to stop saying go out and be active? You are triggering the avalanche. And that's why it doesn't matter. It really, really doesn't. It doesn't matter because both sides refuse to back down. Because as the saying goes, God is on my side. That's what they say. As a figure of speech, it doesn't mean literally they believe that God is on their side. It means they believe that they are the just, moral, righteous saviors of whatever it is they're fighting for. And I don't care if you're one of them, and I don't care if you think that's who you are. Have your beliefs. But it's got to stop somewhere. And if your belief results in chaos, I don't know what to tell you, man. But I'll tell you this. Both sides won't back down. Nobody will. And I get it. I saw the video of that cop shoot a guy point blank with that tear gas canister. You got the guy apparently who got killed. I think this was CBS News. The guy in Louisville, just a barbecue chef, and he got caught in the crossfire. But people want justice and retribution. They don't care if it was an accident or intentional. They don't understand that war, what war is and what it gets you and where you go. So now you're going to see people say the cops murdered this guy. We had a guy in Omaha, a bar owner, got into a fight with some guys, killed a guy in self-defense. Prosecutor refuses to prosecute him. People are demanding murder charges. Do you think they're just going to back down? No, both sides know they're right. And maybe you are the one that's right. It doesn't matter. The other side won't agree with you, and they won't stop either. People look at this video of the cop and they see just the one clip of him drawing the gun and they say the state's out of control, the police are out of control. The other side sees the violence against the supervisor, the ranking officer in the white shirt, and they say it was instigated. It was instigated. Does that justify drawing a gun? Honestly, man, it doesn't matter. It literally doesn't matter because no one cares about whether you think you're right. They know they're right. That's what happens. So people say, yeah, well, the reason he hit the cop was because the cop was doing X. Well, the reason the cop was doing X because the protesters were doing Y. It doesn't stop. It's just building up and building up. This is my point. Donald Trump says we are going to absolutely dominate. We are going to send out the military. And what they hear is martial law and fascism. And then they say we will not allow Donald Trump to kill innocent Americans. At what point do you think everyone just says, you know what, we were wrong about this. Let's calm things down. When CNN goes on the air and says the rioters are justified because they're using the language of the unheard, you have one of the most influential institutions in this country defying the president and saying these people are just. You have Joe Biden's staff donating to pull these people out of jail. You have Andrew Cuomo. Let me find the Andrew Cuomo one. Condemning the president. The president is calling out the American military against American citizens. He used the military to push out a peaceful protest so he could have a photo op at a church. That's insane. The protesters were cleared because there was a curfew in place due to rioting the night before and someone trying to burn down St. John's Church. I don't know where the evidence comes that Trump ordered them to do it for a photo op. Trump was trying to show his faction, his base, that we have saved this monument, that we have stopped the rioters. And Andrew Cuomo, a man who has spent the past several months saying, you cannot have your business back, you cannot reopen your store, is condemning Trump for Trump trying to clear out the protests. So which is it? Are we allowed to go outside and not social distance, not wear masks because we're protesting? Or are the right-wing protesters saying reopen, sick, twisted individuals killing grandmother? This is why I say this is civil war, because Andrew Cuomo doesn't care about what his principles are. He doesn't care about anything making sense at all. It doesn't make sense to say you can't have your business because of COVID and then go out and say, well, these people should be allowed to protest. It doesn't make sense that he knew on May 6th staying at home was getting people sick. And the only reason now he supports people being outside is because they're rioting. It doesn't. So where does that end up? You can get mad at Trump. Look, man, I don't like these videos of the cops tear gassing the protests. There's a difference between a riot and a protest. It's a fine line before people start rioting. And that's what the cops react to. You are going to see what we have seen so many times in countries where this goes down, where the police say we have to break them up, otherwise they will riot. But then because the riot doesn't happen, they say you broke up a peaceful protest. People asked, what would have happened if one of those bystanders intervened to save George Floyd's life? And I tell you this. If somebody knocked that cop down to save George Floyd, then George Floyd would have lived. And that would have meant the cops would arrest that person for assault on an officer, and that'd be the end of it. You see what I'm trying to say here? Only because George Floyd died did anyone realize he needed to be saved in the first place, because hindsight is 2020. So now we have all this. Now we have Matt Gaetz, Republican, tweeting, now that we clearly see Antifa as terrorists, can we hunt them down like we do those in the Middle East? Jen Perlman for Congress says, a sitting congressman calling for murder of fellow citizens. It doesn't matter who you think is right, man. It really doesn't. What matters is that both sides are going to go blow each other up. Maybe I'm wrong, man. You know what scares me, though? I've been right up until this point. And so the only thing I ever really can do is think about, if this is happening now, what are the possibilities? And you're presented with a wager. The wager is this. Seeing these tweets, seeing Andrew Cuomo versus Trump, seeing the CNN's defense, seeing this story, check this out. Joe Biden, his staff paying for bail for the rioters. I think about the two parent possibilities, escalation and de-escalation. If I stay where I am and I ignore this and it de-escalates, who cares? If I prepare and I take care of things and it de-escalates, who cares? If you do nothing and this escalates, you're in serious trouble. And if you prepare now and things escalate, you'll be prepared. That's how I base my movements and my judgment off what we're seeing and what's going on. Not that I think it is the most likely thing to occur, but that if we are seeing this now, cops drawing their guns, cops being ambushed, vans pulling up, bricks and gasoline being layered throughout cities, Trump calling for the military intervention, being slammed by Democratic governors. There's no cohesion. There's no unity. There is no idea of how to stop things. Andrew Cuomo's city is being destroyed. And his response is that Trump goes too far. So if you live in New York, I hope you like the governor you have, as your businesses and your life is windows are smashed out and ripped apart. Of course, there are many people who live in New York who like what is happening and are engaging in that behavior. So what is the solution? Perhaps in the end, we will see an exodus to rural areas because regular Americans, the average person, look, man, they want to watch football and eat pizza. They don't want to be involved in this. It's the ideologues that are fueling the flames on both the left and the right. Now, I certainly think that we've seen the left ideologues run amok. That's Antifa. They're the ones who are likely layering bricks. We've seen them. We have evidence to suggest, I should say, that they're giving the bricks out. But I don't know what you think is going to happen next. And maybe I'm completely wrong. And you know what? I welcome it 100%. Laugh at me, insult me, tell me I'm wrong. Comment below. Say, Tim, you're a moron. We're not in a civil war. There's been social upheaval before. I know it. That's what they said to me 2 years ago, 3 years ago. It was 3 years ago. Someone posted a picture of me, posted a picture of my mom, posted my address. I got threatened in a park while I was skateboarding. And I said, if this is where we are at, and because of the internet especially, then where do you think things go next? And people said, dude, you don't understand, man. Social upheaval was worse 50, 60 years ago. Okay, I know. And maybe it all simmers down and maybe we pull through and then maybe there's just some big social change. And that's possible. Base your judgment based on what you think comes next. But it's true and it's fair to say that we've dealt with worse. There have been assassination attempts on world leaders in this country, on our political leaders, because of the tensions between our political factions. So maybe it is too bold for me to say civil war. But I see Joe Biden and his staff, they've been calling out the rioting. That's fair. They shouldn't have done this. Hopefully people find some alignment in what is acceptable and what isn't. The issue, though, is, and don't you forget it, the snowflake doesn't blame itself for the avalanche. Each and every one of these people who is going out to peacefully protest, I respect your right to do so, and I'm glad that people are voicing their concerns and standing up for this. And then when you form that crowd, you have primed an avalanche for which you cannot control. The rioting occurs, the murder occurs, the death occurs, and it's not stopping. It's not slowing down. It was Monday night, and I said maybe now we'll see things slow down. No, it was worse than ever. More shops, everything destroyed across Manhattan. I think it's only going to keep escalating because this is a snowball rolling down a hill that can't be stopped. As Trump tries to bring in the military to calm things down, we see governors and the media condemn him for it. So how does this end? Hey, man, just because they're paranoid don't mean they're not after you, right? So I'll tell you what, I'm paranoid. Fine. That's fine. Maybe that's the case. But like I said, you have a wager to consider. For me, I'm going to make sure I'm taking care of myself and I'm planning for when they move through the suburbs, because guess what? In Chicago, they already are. They've been moving through the suburbs. The riots have hit many Chicago suburbs, at least as people in the suburbs are telling me, that businesses are being trashed and the police in the local towns aren't prepared for it. So it'll eventually come to your residential neighborhood. That's my prediction. But I'll tell you what, maybe I'm wrong because I don't know. I can't see the future, right? Take your bet. Do you have a bug out plan? Have you talked to your family about what to do when people are throwing bricks through windows? It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It means you're just ready for something if it does happen. If you do nothing, then you just increase the likelihood you are left high and dry. Look, man, I was saying things similar to this years ago, and look where we are now. It's only gotten worse than it's ever been in this country. So please, tell me I'm wrong. I want to be wrong. I want to desperately to go back to those blessed days of hanging out and complaining about nonsense, talking about how dumb it was that one movie had too many of that character and people complaining about this character. Oh, it was so fun, wasn't it? Now there are explosions throughout. I'm in the suburbs of Philly. There are explosions throughout Philly all last night. Gun store owner shoots and kills somebody. People mounting on their rooftops with AR-15s as other guys march through the streets with baseball bats. I will gladly be wrong. Please give me back those days. I'd love to ride my skateboard to the street and forget all about this, but I don't see things de-escalating. And if it does simmer down for the short period, what do you think happens after Donald Trump gets reelected? I'm going to leave it there. The next segment is coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. I'll see you all then.